What's up, college football fans, DFS enthusiasts? We are back with another week of hopefully making a lot of money. We had a really good week last week. I think the only positions where we maybe struggled a little bit was running back. If you looked at some of the Cameron Harris play wasn't great. But we were all over. We loved for GPPs, Travion Henderson, who I think broke the rushing record. So if you played him, you made money. The top receiver last week was Drake London, who had 3 touchdowns and was a complete monster. So we had a lot of great plays. And I think the two biggest quarterback recommendations in Martinez and King were the right quarterbacks to play last week. So we had a really good week. I really saw last week well. I kind of felt good about going into last week. I think this week's a little bit more challenging. There's more obvious plays that will be chalky. I think a lot of people will be on them. But let's go. Let's go right through it. Let's break it down. Again, like we did last week, I'll start off by just highlighting some of the games to target, who are the best totals that we're going to want to look at for building rosters this week. So a big slate, which I'm pretty excited about. Obviously, it's always a lot of games. But there's a few games that we are not going to be too interested in, which should help us narrow down the player pool, kind of focus on our guys. You'll notice, again, I'm going to be looking up a lot at my screen as I kind of go through all the games and kind of talk through it with you guys. Starting with the first one, Missouri, BC. This game might have a little bit, I think, more scoring potential than people realize. I think you look at BC and look, this is a really good defense, but they haven't played anybody this year. Missouri's going to be their biggest challenge by a lot. And I think Missouri can score. So I think that could be a game to look at. The LSU Mississippi State game is, obviously going to be a ton of plays and should be really high scoring. I think that's probably my favorite game to target. I do think the Texas Tech Texas game has a sneaky upside as well. They just tend to be exciting games. It's a big rivalry game. Texas does not look as good as people thought they would this year. And Texas Tech hasn't been great, but I think they're still getting their feet under them. Some of their main playmakers I think are underpriced, so I'll get into that. The highest expected total is supposed to be the SMU TCU game. I like that game, but they really priced everyone up. I think they saw that everyone was going to go to that game, so it's going to be hard to fit in a lot of those guys because the salaries are pretty high. Other than that, those are going to be the games that are going to be I'm looking at. Oh, I almost forgot. One of my favorite teams to target is going to be Boise State, and I love the comeback on that game with Utah State. Utah State has one of the best receivers in the country, and Boise State, I think Shakir is going to be a top 5 receiver for sure, and they want to throw the ball a million times. So again, it's another game with a lot of just volume. There should be a lot of plays run. So those are the 4 or 5 games I think we want to spend most of our efforts on. But I'll go through all the games and just kind of go through who the most viable plays are for tomorrow's slate. So just like we did last week, what I'll do today is we'll go through each game. I'll go look at a quick peek at the depth charts and see ya. Welcome to the live stream. My trusted PGA partner, who we do the live stream with for golf, come on, and he's asking about Shakira. Does he play? She plays for Boise State. So I don't know if you know this, but her actual hips don't lie. So yes, she does play for Boise State. No, their top receiver's last name is Shakir. And yeah, he's one of the best receivers on the slate. So he's definitely someone I would recommend playing. So let's kick this one off. I want to start in the first game, the Missouri-BC game. I'll take a quick kind of browse through the depth charts just so we can see who we're playing. We'll start on the Missouri side. I think Connor Bazelak, who's Missouri's quarterback, will probably be low-owned at a pretty reasonable price. He's had some pretty consistent good games this year. So I think people are going to shy away from him because he doesn't have a receiver that you are going to love to play him with. So it's going to be a weird stacking situation. But he can put up numbers. If you want to play, especially in college with 12 games, you can play a quarterback solo without running him back with a stack. So I would consider him here. But D is probably my number one back on the slate. I'll be way overweight on Tyler Badie. You want to get as much Bedian as you can. Everyone else is going to play him, so you're not going to be different. He's going to be chalky, but he's probably underpriced here. He's probably the best back, and this isn't a Boston College team of old that is stuffing the run. They're susceptible, and he'll have plenty of opportunities. At receiver, if you're going to run one back, I think the highest upside is going to be Kiki Chisholm. He's a guy that can, break a slate for a GPP. Other than that, I'm not really too interested in any of the other guys on the Missouri side. For BC, on the surface, I wanted to say I'm just really not interested in anyone other than Flowers, who's their best receiver. And at 5,600, I think that's a reasonable price. So if you want to roll him out at 5,600, I'm okay with it. However, I changed my tone on BC when I realized how cheap Grosso is going to be at 5,900. This game has some shootout potential. So I would consider Grosso here for 5,900. You can play him definitely with Flowers, who is an NFL prospect, and this guy is probably underpriced at this number. He's hit or miss. He's definitely a GPP play, but he certainly has game-breaking upside. Even if you wanted to play one more, I think Jalen Gill has upside. He can get you 0 points, but we've seen him have a few big games last year where he brought 50-yard touchdown and things like that. So if you wanted to try and pair these guys up, I think there's something there. And then if you were to go with a running back, it would probably be Garwo, but they are kind of splitting carries with 3 guys here. So if you have 3 guys splitting, it's a hard situation to pick, but Missouri can get beat on the ground. So Garwo would be my play. But again, it's a committee that it's hard to see how much it will shake out. We'll move over to this Georgia-Vanderbilt game. This one will be really quick because Vanderbilt is not playable. Georgia's defense is too good. I just don't stay away. Do not play anyone on Vanderbilt. They're too good of a defense. If they score a touchdown, they're lucky. And on the other side of the coin, I expect this to be a big blowout. I don't know if we'll even get 4 quarters out of these Georgia guys. So I don't love playing Daniels at 8,100 and a guy that probably maybe will play 3 quarters or a half of football. Zamir White has not lived up to expectations. They haven't given him the volume we thought he'd get. So I'm not going to go back there. They've been really rotating these backs in and giving a lot of guys touches. So the one play in this game that I might go to is actually Kendall Milton at 3,500. He's a guy that led the team in carries last week. Again, it was another blowout, but we're expecting a blowout this week. So if this game gets out of hand, maybe Milton gets 10 carries in the second half at 3,500. That can definitely make up his salary. So I would be interested there, but other than that, that's probably the only play I could even recommend in this game. Just Georgia's defense is too good, and it's going to be a blowout, so there's not somewhere that we're going to want to go. There was a question in Discord, and now I see it again in the chat from Jimmy. Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate the comment. Are you against playing 4 running backs? This is an easy one. Absolutely. We're not playing 4 running backs. No chance. Not an option. I'm kind of almost against playing 3 running backs. I think especially on DraftKings. In DraftKings, you get the point per reception, so there's more upside for receivers. So, maybe there's be a few lineups I play 3 running backs. I'm definitely not playing 4. You might, you want to play 2 quarterbacks in college. So replacing a running back with a quarterback doesn't make sense. Get both quarterbacks in. And then, if you want to maybe put 3 backs in your flex, I can see it in a couple lineups, but your main build should have your flex should be 4 receivers because I think that's how you can score the most points. Of course, I'm happy to always provide the straight up answers. If we're going to make some money, it's the only way to do it. Let's get right to the point. So let's go back to this, to the depth chart here. We're going to look at now this LSU Mississippi State game, which has a ton of scoring potential. This is going to have one of the best game flows for a DFS perspective you want. So we're definitely going to target some players in this game. This is how these are the teams that we want to look for. So Max Johnson's interesting because, like I said, of the game script, I don't love him at this price. It's a lot. 8,300 is a lot. I feel like we can get a dual threat quarterback for this price who can throw and run. whereas Mac Johnson's really only going to throw. However, if you really love this game and you're stacking it, then he's definitely in play. Davis Price is just disappointing. Every year they talk him up to be the next LSU back, and every year he doesn't show up. So I'm not going to be playing any of him. Corey Kiner, to me, seems like the guy taking over. I think he's the new number one. If you're going to play a back in this game or on this team, I would go with Kiner, especially if you think Max Johnson's overpriced, you want to get some exposure in this game. I think that could be an interesting way to do so. 4,900, he's certainly reasonably priced, but he likely is splitting carry, so he doesn't really have 20 carry upside, which is the only issue there. If we want to look at receiver, Keyshawn Bout is my favorite receiver on the slate, if not top 3. So I'm going to be hammering him into my lineups. You got to get it. I want to get as much exposure to Bout as I can. We know Mississippi State is going to try and run as many plays as they can. They're going to score a lot. I don't think they're going to have an answer for Bout, and they can stop the run. So Mississippi State does have a good run defense where they are beatable through the air, and they're going to throw to Bout a lot. So Bout's definitely in our lineups, cash GPPs. Let's play Bout. Other than that, I don't love the rest of the receivers here. They do spread it around a bit. I could understand a Troy Palmer. I think Coy Moore is interesting because of his price tag, and if you like the game situation. And my favorite different play would probably be Jack Beck, their tight end, who is getting targets. They throw to him a good amount. So if he can get in the end zone, I think he could be interesting as well. Now, on the Mississippi State side, the only issue here is they're going to score, right? They just have a lot of mouths to feed. There's 7 or 8 guys on that team that are playable. So it's kind of picking who is our value, who are we going to go with. Will Rogers is going to throw 50 times. He has scoring potential at under 8K. He's one of my favorite QB plays. I will definitely be playing my fair share of Will Rogers. And don't get shy because you see LSU. This is not an LSU defense of old that we're going to be scared of. This LSU defense is beatable. And so we're happily going to attack you with this Mississippi State team and a Mike Leach offense. Jacovius Marks is questionable, which is important for this reason. I don't love Marks at this price in general, but if he's out and we want to check tomorrow morning before the game starts, if Marks doesn't play, Dylan Johnson is a smash button play. He's a receiver and a running back. He's going to get 10 targets. He'll get 15 carries. And so the only issue with Johnson is that he's got to share the backfield with Marks. If Marks is out at 4,600, Dylan Johnson's a no-brainer play. We're going to be smash buttoning him as much as we can. And then on the receiver side, my favorite receiver is Jaden Walley. He's off to a slow start this year, but we saw last year he's got the biggest upside. He has slate-breaking potential. So I'm going to smash him into my lineups. I think Malik Heath gets plenty of targets. At 6K, I just think there's better value on this team. But like I said, this is one of our favorite games to target. So if you want to go with Heath, also totally fine. Austin Williams is fine. I think Mekhi Polk is their number one receiver. I don't know why they list him 4th in the depth chart. That's silly. Mekhi Polk's our guy here. He's going to be my highest owned player on this team. And I might get different and play a little bit of Jameer Calvin, who was looked at as maybe being one of their top receivers coming into the year. He has been disappointing. He hasn't been great, but at 3,300 in this game that we love, he's someone for GPPs that can get us, that can make us be a little bit different. All right, let's move on. Got Rich chiming in. Big night for the scoreboard operator in Stark Vegas. Appreciate that, Rich. Let's jump into this Texas Tech game. While we're here, appreciate it, Wes. Yes, if you guys don't mind, if you want to hit the like button, share it with your friends. Not wasting my Friday night. I'm doing this either way. I'm getting ready to make some money tomorrow. And listen, for all my friends and followers, anyone wants to make some money with me, watch the show. We'll all play the same plays, and we'll have a laugh about it next week when we talk about or start counting our stacks of how much money we've made on the college football slate. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you coming on here. If you could hit like, send us a follow. It is kind of really greatly appreciated. It goes a long way. Now let's look at this Texas Tech game. This is another game script I like a lot. Texas Tech, Texas, a rivalry game. They always tend to be pretty close games. Both these teams are sneaky. The over-under isn't as high as I thought it would have been. this can be a real shootout. So this can go way above the number. So and this is almost a way to get different. We know it's going to be a competitive game. I'll start on the Texas Tech side with Tyler Show at 6,500. I think this is a pretty reasonable price. I actually like this price tag a lot. So he's definitely in play at that number. The only issue at running back with Texas Tech is that there's two of them, right? Because both of them are really, really good players. So Rodrik Thompson had some monster games last year. Now he's coming in a little bit banged up. He was hurt coming into the year. So the concern is how much volume they're going to give him. But we know he can break off a big one. And if he gets anywhere near the volume he got last year, I mean, he's one of the best backs on the slate at $4,800. So I am concerned about the injury, so I wouldn't go smash button here because I just don't know how many carries they'll give him, how many touches they'll give him. And honestly, Taj Brooks has been awesome. When Thompson has been out, Taj Brooks has really shown he can play. Again, I just think this number is too low, even though they're going to split carries. At 4,100 for Taj Brooks, I'm in. I think these are the types of plays that will win you GPPs, finding which one of these guys will break the slate. So definitely in play, either of these backs. And then it feels like Eric, who knows how to pronounce his name, Ezukanma, has been around for like 15 years. He's a stud. They're going to throw to him a lot. I do think he's a little overpriced maybe against a pretty – it should be a more talented Texas secondary, but he's a really good football player. So there's some other guys I do prefer at this price point, but I certainly see plenty of value in getting your shares of Ezukanma in. The only other receivers here that I think are viable are Kailyn Geiger, who they do throw to. I don't know if he has the slate-breaking upside, but at 5,600, he can certainly make up for his price. And Travis Kuntz at tight end at 4,100. They do throw him the ball a good amount, and I think he's the more reasonable. If you want to go a salary-saving pass catcher, Kuntz would be the route on the Texas Tech side. Now, on the Texas side, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. They're playing both guys. Neither one of them was looking pretty good. Texas has been pretty disappointing this year. I'm not going to target this passing game. There's too many question marks for me. So far this year, Bijan Robinson, their running back, has been great, but all things considered, he hasn't been as good as expected. His price has come down, which from a DFS side is a good thing. That means let's go back to him. I'm in on Bijan. In this game, I think there's a lot of upside here. So I'll be overweight on Robinson for sure. I think with his price coming down, he's one of the better running backs here to target on the slate. After him, if you want to go Joshua Moore or Jordan Whittington, I definitely prefer Moore, especially for GPPs. He has more upside. Whittington is the type of guy that will get you like 5 catches, 50 yards, which for cash games is pretty safe. It's hard to get that to do the trick unless he scores a couple times for a GPP. So Moore, receiver for GPPs, Whittington cash, and then Robinson's my overall play for Texas this week. It's Wes. Wes is a Texas fan. They do hate each other. This is a fun rivalry. This will be a fun game to watch. So if you're building, a handful of lineups, you probably want to have a stack of this game because it might be the most exciting game to watch. This is a real hated rivalry that just always seems to be pretty exciting, especially years that Texas Tech can keep up. Wes, unfortunately, I appreciate you coming onto the show, but Texas hasn't looked very good. So they are the better team, but they gotta bring their A game tomorrow and get out of the slow start they're off to this year. Now let's move over to this SMU TCU game. This is another one of the high ones. There's like 3 to 4 games on this slate that we're really going to target, and like the rest of the games you maybe can play one guy. So this is one of the games that we're going to go after. The weird thing here is that Draftkings obviously knows that, and they really priced up this game. So Tanner Mordecai at $9K is pricey. He does have the highest upside probably of any player. They can put up points in bunches. I probably prefer Duggan on the other team for 300 less. So if you want to play Mordecai, I probably prefer him in cash, but it's still going to be hard. I think it's just too much. I just think it's too much to go there for me. Now, it looks like Bentley and Siggers have been Wes. Texas doesn't pay enough on signing day. That's pretty funny, actually. That's a good one. Sorry, going back to this game. So SMU, I think, as we've seen in the past, they definitely do pay enough. So that's why they can score points, but they don't pay on the defensive side. Anyway, I digress. Back to the game. Bentley was a stud last year. I think he's a very good player, but they seem to be splitting carries with Siggers. And this is like a similar situation we broke down last week with the Ohio State game. Both guys are good, but the backup's half the price, so let's just play the backup who's going to get nearly as many touches. That's what I'm thinking here. I like Bentley, but I think Siggers is worse than him, but he's been getting one less touch a game, two less touches a game, and at half the price, I'll roll the dice with Siggers in a GPP. If he finds the end zone and breaks one off, that's where you're going to make value on some of these lineups. So that would be my preferred play at running back. And then Reggie Roberson is maybe the best value on the slate. He's underpriced here. He is coming off an injury, but he seems to be – if they say something's concerning before tomorrow, then we'll adjust. But for me right now, he's playing. That's good enough for me. I'm hammering him. He's going to be one of my highest-owned receivers at 4,500 in a game that's going to score a lot of points. He's probably their number one guy. I don't know why he's priced so low. This doesn't make sense. He's probably going to be chalky. There'll be a lot of people on him, but especially for cash games, you got to be playing Roberson. Rashee Rice and Danny Gray are also in play. Roberson just makes more sense because of the price, but both these guys have some upside in a game that should be pretty high scoring. So I'm okay with any of these plays for tomorrow. And then on the other side, on the TCU side, I love Max Duggan. He's a running back and a quarterback in one position. So you can pay up for him because you don't even need to stack him. You can just play him alone. He might rush for 100 yards and a touchdown and throw for another 202. So Duggan is one of my favorite quarterbacks of the play. We'll be overexposed to him this week. Zach Evans it's almost like if I'm not playing Duggan, I'm playing Evans. This is a better team. They're going to score points. SMU's defense is atrocious. Their offense is good. So what that means is they're not going to get many stops, but they'll stay in the game and make the starter stay in for 4 quarters. So targeting TCU makes a lot of sense. If I don't play Duggan, I'm playing Evans more than likely. You got to have some exposure to this game. And the receiver end, Quentin Johnson's number one receiver by a lot. 8,200 is too much for him. They're a more running quarterback type team, not a team that's going to air it out 50 times. So at $8,200, maybe I'll have a lineup or two that I stack Duggan with him if he does get 2 touchdowns, but I'm not going to be overweight on him at that price. Other than that, I don't love the pass catchers here. I think Davis might be the interesting value play if you want to get a value receiver with Duggan as well. But you can play Duggan alone, no problem. He's going to run it and throw. So that's who I'll be targeting here. Now, this Notre Dame-Wisconsin game, listen, Jack Cohn, a rivalry game, playing his old team. A lot of players might think that he's going to get up for this game and try and beat his old team and put up a lot of points. I actually think the opposite's going to happen. I think Wisconsin's going to embarrass him. I think he's going to throw a bunch of picks. I don't think Notre Dame is as good as people think they are. They have some flaws on defense. They haven't looked that good. So I'm concerned about Notre Dame. I think this is an upset spot. I actually think they're going to lose the game. I'm going to pick Wisconsin in an upset. I wouldn't play Cohen here. I don't think there's enough scoring in this game. Even if they do score, it should be a low-scoring game. If I was going to go somewhere, maybe Kyron Williams could break one off, but he seems to be splitting carries with Tyree now. So when he was the bell cow, he was awesome, but he's not the bell cow this year. They're splitting. At splitting, the volume is not there. But he does catch passes, so he takes a screen to the house or something like that. He's in play at 5,700. The price is fair. So Kyron Williams is definitely in play. And then on the receiver end, Austin and Davis, I'm okay with. They're cheap enough, but Wisconsin's got an awesome pass defense. And Jimmy Wagner, thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Yeah, he's a Notre Dame fan. He's even telling you they just don't look good. I feel bad. I like Notre Dame. I want them to win, but they got some flaws this year. So if you think Austin maybe can catch a deep ball or Davis, those are the only ways to play one of these guys. They're cheap enough where even though it's a low-scoring game, they're in play. And then the player I do like here is Meyer. Meyer was like one of the most expensive receivers the first couple of weeks because he broke the slate in the week 1. And he is an NFL player. This guy's going to be really good. If you want to go back here at 5,700, I think this is a good price for Meyer. So I'd be okay with Meyer here. That's the one play I think I like on the Notre Dame side for them, and maybe Kyron Williams. For the most part, I'm not going to be too high on this game. I'm pretty much off of Wisconsin altogether, except for at running back, Malusi and Berger. The problem is Malusi was the bell cow early on, and he was doing well in that role. Berger, I don't know if it was a personal team thing or what, but he wasn't playing early in the year, which gave Malusi kind of become the bell cow. Last week, Berger came back, they split carries. If they're going to split carries again, then same concept. Let's go with the cheaper Berger at 4,900. Notre Dame has gotten torn up on the ground this year, so they are not someone we're scared of. We can certainly target running backs in this game. Other than that, I don't love the Wisconsin pass catchers, so low-scoring game. Maybe the one running backs, but other than that, I'm going to be pretty low on this game. Now, for the second tier, the last early game to go through is the Boise-Utah State game. And this is another one of those games that we will be targeting. This is going to be a high total, a lot of scoring. Boise State's offensive coordinator said he wants to throw 50 times a game if he can. So we're gonna go there. Neither team has a great defense. There should be points scored. Bachmeier certainly in play. I thought he would have been more expensive. So at this price, I love me some Bachmeier. 50 passes, sign me up. He's another one of those where if I don't go there with Bachmeier, I will probably play George Holani. I don't think this Utah State team is going to be able to get many stops, so Boise State's going to score. Holani looks to have taken back over this backfield as their go-to guy. He's the back I'll be targeting. They do have two other backs that they play. I don't think they're as good. If you're concerned about the timeshare, it's a fair concern. Then I can see you not playing any of the backs, but for me, it's going to be Holani. And then at receiver, Shakir is going to be one of my top 3 played receivers this week. He's a stud. He should eat up this Utah State team. After Shakir, I would have liked Cobbs. I don't know if he's going to play. He's questionable to play. If Cobbs doesn't play, then Shakir's almost a lock button because he's going to get a million targets. If Cobbs does play, then we can split up some shares, maybe get some Cobbs exposure, get some Shakir exposure, split that up. But other than those two, you might maybe want to throw Evans in a lineup or two, but maybe I can see you getting Coder in there. But other than that, those are the guys. They funnel their targets to a few guys, so those are the guys to look at. We look over here on the right, on the Utah State side, Logan Bonner. He does split. He does split time with Andrew Peasley, which is far from ideal for a quarterback. But Bonner's going to get you 30 passes. He's the passer. Peasley's more of a running quarterback. So if this is a shootout game and they go behind, which I'm expecting, and they have to throw, then I think Bonner will stay in the game longer. At 5,600, this is too cheap, especially if we're stacking this game. I would love doing a few lineups with Bachmeier, Bonner, jamming in some of these receivers and really kind of targeting this game. So as some of the folks in the comments are saying, pay my rent, this game will pay your rent. You will get your rent paid. Let's say, Wes, you got to understand, you watch the show so you can find a way to get your rent paid. This is how you do it. You play these guys, and then your rent gets paid off by Draftkings because you win all the money. So we're having some fun. But, yeah, I think this is a play. I love Bonner in this game. Calvin Tyler also. Listen, Boise State's okay against the run, but Tyler's been good. If he gets enough carries, he can break the slate. He just, 10 to 15 carries a game might not be enough. 5,500 is a fair enough price. So I like Connor. I'm going to give him the thumbs up. I'm not a smash button or lock play, but definitely someone I'm considering in a game that we're definitely targeting. I don't think, Gentry and Noah might get some carries, but they're just not playable. They're not going to be enough volume to get in here. The receivers that we want to look at, Devin Tompkins, one of the best receivers in the country. They threw him a million times, especially if you're stacking this game. We can play him. He's expensive. You got to pay up, but I'm okay with him being one of my most expensive players because they're going to throw him a ton. And DFS is all about volume. He has that volume in a game that they're probably going to be losing and need to be playing catch-up in. So Tompkins we're definitely in on. I think Bowling has some upside as well. It's going to be hard to afford, all these guys. So you probably have to pick one. But if you want to, fade Tompkins to get different and play Bowling, I'm okay with that. And then if you can't afford them and you're going somewhere else, but you still want to stack this game with like Bachmeier and Shakir, then we can go with Wright and McGriff as the cheaper plays. Again, these guys are getting targets. So they'll have to catch a touchdown to make value, but they can get a score here. I think they're going to be passing a lot because they're going to fall down early. So any of those top 4 receivers here I think are in play on the Utah State side. I'll have a couple lineups where I match them up with Bonner as well. Let's head over to this Texas A&M game, which is going to be a quick one, quick and easy. Haynes King is out. I have no trust in Calzada on the A&M side, so fading this past game almost altogether. I'd be okay with Isaiah Spiller. He has the upside. They seem to be splitting carries a little bit more than we would have liked, and they're going to Arkansas is going to stack the box to stop him. They saw the same thing we did with Calzada. He doesn't seem to be that good, so they're going to dare him to pass. Arkansas is better this year. They're improved. Their defense isn't bad. Spiller's a GPP play. He does have the upside, but I wouldn't probably play him in cash. And the only receiver on this team that I like is Weidermeyer at tight end. Weidermeyer's been around for like 15 years, and he seems to always just be mediocre. But their top receiver, Atlanta Smith, might not play. So if he's out, he should get a ton of targets. I think it's a pretty high floor. So I really like Weidermeyer for cash games at 4,300. And I think he's okay for GPPs. If he gets in the end zone, then I think he's a certainly reasonable start. I'm sorry to jump around here, but I think Rich, I think that's a fair concern because Utah State is playing early, which is weird. I don't know why that game is early. That's odd. That should be the 4:00 game. Is that a concern? Maybe. I'd be okay with you if you didn't want to play that stack because you're concerned of that. But for me, there's only like 3 or 4 games tomorrow to target, and that's one of them. So I won't be fading it. I'm going to go there. I actually hope other people are concerned and don't play them. I'm going to try it. I'm going to go there. I can understand the concern, but there's not a whole lot of other teams to like here. If we move over to the Arkansas side, you can almost fade them. I mean, Texas A&M hasn't been great against the run, so if you want to look at Traylon Smith, I'd be okay with that. I think Raheem Sanders might be sneaky, who does get a bunch of carries. He got a bunch of carries last week. He's really cheap, so if you want to do like a punt running back at 3,200, I'm okay with Sanders. Other than that, hard to target this team. I think this will be a low-scoring game, so I'm not going to be too exposed here. So let's look at this Louisville, Florida State game. Malik Cunningham, we've known now, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's a dual threat. He's maybe the best rusher on the slate, as well as he can throw for a bunch of yards. Not too many pass catchers we like to stack with him, so we'll be pretty heavy on. If you want to play him alone, you can certainly play him alone. I think the Florida State defense isn't bad. So, I don't love him here. He certainly has the upside, but you're paying, top dollar to get him. So, I'll have some exposure, but I'm not going to go crazy. The running game hasn't impressed. I'm not going to go back to it. I don't really love any of these receivers. I think the only receiver I might be interested in stacking Cunningham with is Marshawn Ford at 5,500, who was slow to begin the year, but he had a big week last week. They got him more involved. They've said multiple times in the offseason they wanted to get him more involved. So if we're going to get Marshawn Ford, a guy they're looking to get involved, he's probably the only guy to play with Cunningham. Other than that, I don't love this team too much. And on the Florida State side, I know the coach came out and said Milton's their guy. They're sticking with him. I don't know why. I don't know. Milton stinks. So I'm out. I'm out on Florida State almost altogether. Maybe I can see playing Corbin, whose price has come down some. So at this price, I like him because they've discounted him so he can break off a big run. You can play Corbin at running back. Other than Corbin, I'm out on Florida State. They've looked pretty bad. I don't see them scoring a lot of points. And Louisville's defense is okay. So the only plays here I like are on the Louisville side. You play Cunningham. I like Ford. Maybe Corbin at running back for Florida State. But other than that, we're going to be pretty thin there. Now, on this Clemson team is not, your typical Dabo Sweeney Clemson team. DJ Ugalele is not that good. He can run a little. He's not a great thrower. 7,900 is way too much for him. I think I'm going to botch his name. This other guy, Famunchian, however you say it, is going to be the starter. He's come in relief and looked good. I don't know why they're still going with DJ. Give it a couple weeks. This other guy, in my opinion, should be taking over. So I can't recommend anyone in the Clemson passing game. Will Shipley's the running back you could play. He seems to be winning the job. They're giving him more and more carries. If you're going to go back here in a game that Clemson could get a lead and just run the clock out, then Shipley would be the guy I'd go with. Other than that, I think Ross is overpriced at 6,300 on a team that seems to be struggling backing the ball. They did try to force feed him the ball a little bit last week, so if you think they're going to do that again, fine. But for the most part, I'm going to fade most of Clemson outside of Shipley. NC State, Clemson does have a good defense, so they should beat them. But you know what? Their offense has been so bad, it might just be a low-scoring game. There might not be a back and forth. So I'm not going to play the quarterback. If you wanted to go with Knight or Person, maybe, but I think Clemson's too. I think we can do better than that. So for the most part, I'm probably going to be out on NC State here as well. Now, if we want to look at this Iowa State-Baylor game, Brock Purdy has been around forever. They have a really good defense, which is like they don't get into shootout. So Purdy doesn't usually get that upside that we like. He can run a little bit at 6,900. The price is fair. So if you wanted to get Purdy a shot, I'd be okay with it, but I won't be overweight there. They brought down the price on Breece Hall. So if you want to play Breece Hall, I actually like Breece Hall a lot. He's probably going to be one of my highest owned running backs. He normally is a guy that's like $9K, like the most expensive player on the slate, and he's not here. And I think Iowa State had some tough matchups. They played Iowa a couple weeks ago, and he didn't do as well as he normally does. But this is probably the best running back in the country. At $7K, this is a smash button play for me. I'm going to be way overweight on Breece Hall for sure. And then I also think Hutchinson's in play, but at 7,500, he's a little overpriced. I would have liked to seen him $500 to $1,000 cheaper. So, if you really like this team and this game, you can go there, but it's a little too much for me for Hutchinson. And Charlie Kolar, who's, again, another guy's been around forever. He can catch 2 touchdowns at 5,900 for GPPs. I'll have a little bit of exposure to him, but again, another guy I don't want to go overweight on. On the Baylor side, I don't love this team here. Iowa State's got a really good defense. If you wanted to go with one of the backs like Ebner, who's at 5K is affordable, I'd be okay with that. But they can stop the run, so you're taking a risk there. I wouldn't play him for cash. He's more of a GPP play against Iowa State. RJ Sneed, I don't love. Tyquan Thornton, who seems to be their number one receiver at 4,700, is the guy I would go with. If we're going to play a Baylor receiver, I think Tyquan Thornton's our guy. He's a reasonable price. He seems to be the number one guy in that offense. So we can try him, but other than that, we're pretty low exposed to this game as well, except for Breece Hall. Breece Hall, we're smash button. That's the play of the he's my running back of the week. And the last game to break down is the Michigan-Rutgers game. Rutgers by 1 million. Harbaugh stinks. No, I'm just kidding. They're going to kill him. I like Rutgers. Rutgers has improved. Maybe Rutgers keeps it close, which I hope they do. And maybe they slow Michigan down. Michigan, if they don't have to throw the ball, they won't. So, you can't really play McNamara. They don't want to throw the ball at all. And this shouldn't be that good of a game. So we're out on McNamara. I'm out on all the pass catchers on Michigan. I like both Haskins and Corum at running back. I think I prefer Corum. He catches a little bit more passes. Both guys are in play. They should go up big, and they're going to run the ball 1 million times. So either Michigan running back I'm okay with. And then on the Rutgers side, it's a complete fade. None of these guys can be trusted against Michigan's defense. So probably can't play anyone Rutgers. I like Rutgers. I'll root for them, but they're going to get killed. So unfortunately, we're out on Rutgers. And that's it. That's the slate for this week. Kind of pound in those 3 or 4 high upside, high scoring games. That's where we're going to be. If you want to squeeze in 1 or 2 guys that we mentioned in some of the other games, you can do so. But the formula here this week is there's a few really positive game scripts. We want to hammer those games, and then other than that, kind of fit in the value plays as we can. I appreciate the questions. I hope this was helpful. As always, if you guys hop in Discord, I will try to answer some additional questions before kickoff, but we don't get as much information in college as we do in the NFL. So stay on top of it. If you're playing, make sure you're watching to see injury updates before kickoff. There's some key players that we need to know about before it goes to understand who we're going to go with. So be on top of it before 12 p.m. Find out who's hurt, who's playing. Good luck this week. Please, please, please smash the like button. Come back next week. Let me know how you guys did, and good luck. Let's make some money, team.